This meeting is being recorded.
So, welcome to the April 4th of 2022 Mother Mary Monthly Message. My name is Samara Grace Daniels. I'm here once a month on usually 22334455 to offer you some of the wisdom that comes through from Mother Mary, a being that I've been a messenger for the last 20 some years. And so what I'm going to suggest is that we just take a moment and realize what a momentous time we're in, because I think we're in this cusp between the old world and the new world. And we can see it unfolding, kind of all over the place with, the pandemic, with wars, with people having different opinions about who should do what and when. But at the same time, it appears that we're going to have the very first Black woman on the Supreme Court. It appears so far. It appears that there's going to be a lot of worldwide attention coming together on how we're using our resources to both support certain things and to not support other things. So I'd like us to think about this month of April as sort of a wonderful opportunity to look at our own rebirth, to think about what will I be? How would I like to be? What would I like to shed? What would I like to bring forth in this coming time? And so that's just going to be kind of the theme for Mother Mary's message in just a moment. And what I want us to really focus on is what we do want. I was having a great conversation with Lynn Ann when we first started about Mother Mary's message from March, about if we focus on what we don't want, all the war and COVID and all these things, what we're doing is we're contributing our juice and our creative energy to what we don't want. And so that gives it more fuel to just grow, and that isn't what we want at all. So in this time that we're in right now, it's about thinking about, what will I grow? And one of the things that I found really interesting, if it feels right to you, is go and get yourself a little pot and a plant or a seed for a plant, and begin to really see it as an outward sign of what you want to grow. Now, some of you have gardens and I salute you. I can barely keep a plant alive. So, but that's the idea, is to have yourself an Easter rebirth plant of some kind that you begin to tend. And with that plant, maybe you want to put in a crystal or two. Maybe you want to write a little note to yourself about the qualities that you are choosing to embody and bring in this new time. And then you just do your best to tend that plant and keep it alive and keep it growing, because that outward sign is really, again, sort of a mirror of what we're doing inside. And it can be a reminder if you're starting to feel negative, if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, wait a minute, let me go tend to my plant, give it a little more sun or a little more nutrients of some kind. So Easter, rebirth, focusing on what you do want. Now that most people are on, in just a moment, I'm going to bring in Mother Mary and record that part of the message. And then I'll turn off the recording, and those that are kind enough to join can have sort of a question and answer and comment time just for us. So without further ado, let's see what Mother Mary has to say. Well, hello, everyone. I think what I want to say might seem a little frightening for just a second, but I want you to imagine that you're in the tomb with Jesus. Because in a way, you are. You are in the tomb of the old world that was so frightened of the messages of love and light that not only did they crucify him, they sealed him, or they thought they sealed him in a tomb. And so what could you do to emerge from the tomb and have a new life? None of you are about to die. It isn't that drastic, but I wanted you to understand the power of rebirth and the power of realizing that if you are enshrined, entombed in an old manner of living, you don't have to stay there. You have the power of your own resurrection, if you will, of your own rebirth into an empowered, loving, joyous, beautiful life and planet. You have that power because every single one of you is made of the same light and the same love with which Jesus walked. You are. Now, was he extraordinary? Absolutely. But all of you are also extraordinary. It's a question of commitment, practice, and in a way, a kind of devotion, like be devoted to the world you wish to live in. Be devoted to that. Now, what does that look like? For each person, it's a little bit different. But all you really have to do is say, I choose to be devoted to the love and the light of my I am being or my I am presence. And those are not simple or idle words. It's a kind of inner commandment that aligns you with what you just said. And so now when you're walking down the road and you see, I don't know, litter, perhaps you're going to stop over and put it away and throw it away or recycle it or whatever. One very tiny thing. When you are by a body of water of any kind, a puddle, poor Debbie would love to see a puddle, a puddle, a lake, a stream, whatever. You take an extra moment and some of you do Reiki, it doesn't matter if you don't. What you do is you send forth a blessing to that water. You can use your hands, you can use your heart, you can, whatever feels right. But the second part that is so important that many of you forget is then you receive back the blessing and the awakening that you have just offered to that water. So there becomes this beautiful infinite flow between yourself and that which you are blessing. And so now every time you go to that water, it's like an old friend. It's like, hello, how are you today? It's just beautiful. And the water in your body and the water that you're seeing become aligned with what you have chosen, the commandment you have spoken, that I choose to be one with my infinite light, my infinite love, and my I am presence would be one description. When you're out on the earth and you see a beautiful tree or flower or, something growing on the earth or a bird or an animal, you do the same thing. You offer that blessing to the tree, to the flower, to the animal. And then you let that blessing come back to you, to the earth of your body. So now we've got the water, and now we've got the earth of your body. And so now what you're doing is you are living as a blessing, absolutely. And you're receiving a kind of recognition for what you have been offering, which is a vibration, a frequency that is a match for what you've been offering. Many of you pray for people, and that is absolutely wonderful. Many of you give healing modalities to people, and of course that is also just wonderful. We don't want you to stop that. But this is really about a larger view, seeing that the toxicity in the world that often contributes to the illnesses and to the pollution of the water and the land and the air, etc., comes from these old ways of thinking and acting and choosing. And so one of the things that's going to increase your vibration, increase your well-being, increase your joy of being is not only sending prayers to the people, which again, we don't want you to stop. We want you to keep doing whatever feels right to you. But to now begin to add in the earth, the water, and of course the air. And so many people already know about breath work and doing breathing meditations, and that's wonderful. But the reminder that I want to offer you is when you're outside and a beautiful wind comes or you're doing your breathing, breathe out love, breathe in light. Breathe out love, breathe in light. And so now, again, what you're doing, if you have studied the DNA and you see all these wonderful spirals and figure eights and all of that, you can begin to see that really there's never a stopping, there's never a stillness, there's never a cessation of energy moving. It's always moving, your energy and the energy out there. So by choosing these very easy, small things to do, what you're doing is you're staying aligned with your commitment to be of love and of light. And you're being fed by the earth and the water and the air that you're blessing. And so the frequency of all of that begins to rise. And so again, rather than depleting your energy by only looking at the world and its ills and all of the things that have happened that you're not really happy about, what you're doing is you're aligned at a higher frequency. You're finding the beauty, you're finding the love, and you're sharing your own. What that will do, really, I would say in about a month of practicing this, a month or so, right? Everybody's a little different. What you're going to realize is that this is the kind of food that you have missed. All during COVID, you know, the loneliness and the separation and all of that that seemed to be going on are, this is the remedy for that, the antidote for that. Because now everywhere you're walking or driving or being, you are allowing yourself to be a blessing and you're allowing yourself to be blessed in turn. And so all of this is contributing to a new amount, if you will, if you measure it in that way, to a new amount of energy that is absolutely full of the miraculous. It's full of the miraculous, because what is there is your love and your light, and the love and light of the earth, of the water, of the air, of the animals, of the flowers, all of it. Many of you have heard the story of St. Francis. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's somewhere on one of your things, Netflix or something. Go watch it. Go watch it. And watch his transformation from being, in a way, a separate, spoiled, privileged gentleman to then being an outcast for quite some time, considered crazy for quite some time. But his commitment to what he was hearing and believing then began to draw the people. And they were saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And he began to teach them. And then, of course, over time, you got the Franciscans. So it's not that any of you need to be out, you know, doing something that appears mad to other people. But when you think about it, if someone is watching you bless the water, they might be like, what are you doing? But then again, they might say, what are you doing? May I join you? Show me how this works. What is this? And so you become a teacher and a model when it's appropriate. And when someone has asked, again, no soapboxes, you know, none of that. And so in the time of St. Francis, he truly was what I'll call a paradigm jumper. He jumped from one paradigm to the next and began to create a sense of the importance of the animals, especially the birds, and the importance of service, which at that time was not seen as important at all. And so now we're in another time when we need more paradigm jumpers to not be afraid that someone will say, what do you mean you're blessing the water? You know, are you the Pope or something? And you can say whatever comes in your heart. You can just say, you know, I'm so grateful that we have water on the planet. I just wanted to say thank you. You know, just whatever comes through. And so in that moment of teaching, you become a paradigm jumper. And so we're in this cusp between the old and the new. And whenever that's happening, there's always some reluctance and resistance, and of course, fear and blame and all of that, because people think things should always stay the same. And then you'd all still be in the caves with your clubs, right? So no, things will keep changing. And so you become even really more whole, W-H-O-L-E, because you're receiving every day the blessing of the water, the blessing of the earth, the blessing of the sky, the air, and you're offering it and receiving it. And so what that does is it reminds people and reminds you of how hallowed this earth really is and can be again. Now, I want to be clear that all of this is sort of your I don't want to call it a secret weapon because I don't want it to be a secret. I got it. It's your recipe. It's your recipe to create a whole and beautiful life. And so that's what I want for all of you, a whole and beautiful life. Because the more of you that are leading a whole and beautiful life, the more others will not be so afraid to say thank you to the water or to plant a tree or whatever, you know, whatever's up for them. Because what we're seeing of the old is this last gasp of holding on to power over others. And it is the last gasp. I wish I could say it would be over tomorrow. But the more of you that are paradigm jumpers, the briefer will that continue. Now, I also want to say, if you feel guided to send money, to do things for the Ukrainian people, absolutely. This is not an either or situation. It is a recipe for how to nurture yourself and the world. And then you use your own consciousness to make the decisions about whatever else you choose to do to support people who are in such challenging and difficult times. So the remedy really is to be at peace, to be in gratitude, and to be a blessing. And when you're operating with that, you're creating the world that you truly, truly, truly would like to live in. Now, the other thing I just want to cover while we're on recording is people often ask me about prayer and meditation. And so it's like, okay, let's create this triad, right? So I've given you a practice, which is not exactly a meditation. It's a little different. Add to that whatever form of meditation you enjoy. Could be a nature walk, could be doing yoga, could be breathing, could be whatever. But in that meditation, the other thing I want to offer is the healing of the karmic wounds that is also going on right now. All right, what does that mean? almost everyone today, even the Dalai Lama, carries the seeds of the karmic injustice that has gone on as long as your planet has been here. So it's not that you did something bad in a previous life and now we're hammering you. You know, sometimes that's true, but not always. But in your meditation, I invite you to see a crystalline structure, could be a pyramid, a crystalline structure that you enter and you choose the radiant light and the flame of Saint Germain, which is violet, to pour down liquid light and love throughout your body, heart, mind, and spirit, to heal and release anything that no longer serves you, and to heal and release any kind of karmic seed that still remains from your grandfathers, whatever, right? The familial lineage that carries the karmic injustice. So in that crystalline chamber, and again, if you have another practice, you know, do it. But in this chamber, you see the violet flame, but it's liquid light just moving through and then activating when it gets to the bottom, your connection with the earth. So it's only love, no strip mining, no, you know, polluting, none of that. You just feel like your feet are in the richest soil you've ever been around. And then you watch that move back up through your body, going through the colors of the chakras, right? So you already can look them up if you all know them, but root chakras, red and orange and yellow all the way through. And you see them in your meditation, lighting up pure and bright and beaming out. And at the end of this very brief meditation, you repeat your commitment. I choose to be the highest light and the highest love of my I am presence. So be it, so it is. And so now what you've done is you've used your meditation to again cleanse and or release anything that is not serving you. And so it isn't in that time about connecting with source or God, do you see? It's a little bit different. Many times people meditate to hear me or to hear, you know, Archangel Michael, and that's fine. This is an inside job. This is a recognition that every human being carries an inordinate amount of light that has been muffled and suppressed by life. Let's just put it that way. And so by doing this kind of meditation, you're taking full responsibility for your own energy and your own light and your own way of being. When you've done that, if you want to continue your meditation and see who else you want to talk to, that's fine. But this is really a commitment to understanding that in order for this world to change, you have to operate in the world differently. I want to say clearly, lovingly, right? And so by doing something that small and simple every day, you banish the old wisps of programming and belief systems, etc., that might otherwise constrain. And then the last thing I'll say for the recording is, you say thank you for your life, for the people in your life, for the roof over your head, for the food on your table, whatever. You end in gratitude. Gratitude vibrates at a tremendously amazing frequency. Worry is almost the opposite, almost the opposite. So by choosing gratitude to end your daily practice, now you go out and you do whatever you do, but you're vibrating at one of the highest frequencies that there is. Joy is a little bit above it, but I think you'll find joy as you operate from gratitude with these simple practices. that I've offered to you. And so for our 4/4/22, 2022 broadcast, I'm going to end the recording in just a moment. And I just want you to know that these might seem very small and simple, and they are, but they make a profound difference for you and for your world. So may you be well. May you walk in happiness and gratitude, and may you walk as a blessing. I love you all so much. And what I want to say is be well and be a blessing. This is Samara Grace Daniels saying thank you so much. And you'll be able to see me on YouTube by tomorrow, but be well. Thank you.